Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Marijuana SA Weekly, and today we are talking with Dan from Origami Extracts. And Dan's basically, he won the Amber Cup. That's basically it's like a cannabis cup, but just for extracts. And yeah, we honored to have the winner and the second place, the runner up in second place with us as well, Dean.
So it's got a couple good dab makers on this show.
yeah, this is a high concentration of really quality extractors here today. But yeah, we're going to ask him some questions, basically find out a little bit more about it, as yeah, it's not, I mean, cannabis is going the extract route. It has been for a while, but it's still a very under-educated market. It just seems very new and up and coming, and so we're going to find a little bit more about that. Dean, any things you think you expect to find out today?
So I personally have known Dan for a couple years, and he's super good at what he does. So I highly respect what he's doing, and I've seen a lot of the work that he's doing, and I think he's got a wealth of knowledge. So I'm hoping to learn a little bit about him and his extract journey today, and hopefully build on this conversation into more technicalities down the line. But I think just to learn a little bit about sort of the process and who he is and what he's been doing is going to be really valuable for someone who's potentially thinking about getting into the space.
Yeah, I think today is going to be one of those ones where we're just going to have our minds blown.
Mouth hanging open. So as always, we're going to jump right into it. Thanks, Dan. So first question, how long have you been making extracts? And over that journey of making extracts, what's become your favorite kind of extract personally?
Wow. So making extracts, it started a long time ago, plus minus 10 years ago, where I first dabbled in the alchemy of the plant. I think it was all spurred on from me once looking at the Arcanist cookbook, and during that time there was a cannabis book that was available on the internet called The Alchemy of Cannabis, and in there's some really old school techniques where guys were showing how they were doing extraction. So anyway, about 10 years ago I was playing around with the basic extraction with isopropanol, doing basic black oil. And obviously from that, it tasted like shit and it just really wasn't my vibe. So I thought, no, there's got to be better ways, So then we went on from there, and, it started with, I then saw online a couple of years after that, butane extraction, and started playing around with lighter gas and turkey basters and glass tubes. And I went through the works of it. Obviously with all that, I'm quite a knowledge-driven person. So I just continuously was scouring the internet for information. I learned everything I have known from the internet, and obviously practical, but yeah, went from there and have progressed. And out of all of the years of going through, trying bubble hash, trying ethanol, trying rosin, trying all the different types, I'm leaning onto my solvent extraction. And so at the moment, my favorite that I'm making is probably all that I enjoy is applesauce.
Nice.
Yeah.
On that, you mentioned obviously your pursuit of knowledge, and just in the intro before this, we were talking about like how there isn't actually a lot of knowledge on this topic around the internet and from within South Africa. Like surely it must have taken quite a lot of dedication to get to where you are now, as opposed to just sticking with flower.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I've been a grower for longer than I've been extracting. So maybe that's now 20 years of growing. And with that comes a lot of the same thing, digging deep. And when you dig deep for growing now, when it was available, it was on the internet. And again, it's forums. Forums have a long, deep rabbit hole that you have to journey through. You can't just type Google how to do this and it'll give you the answer. Unfortunately not. You have to dig deep and go into forums. And that's where it comes from, digging deep on forums and Reddit and all the different places that take hours of reading it. And then now obviously we have YouTube, which is great, but there isn't that much on YouTube that I would lean to. It's more read it, read, lean on the forums where there's more professionals that talk about it.
Brilliant.
That hits me really close, because I also learned most of what I know most of what I learned in the early days, or when I was getting into it, was also all on forums and, sort of getting involved, doing the learnings, then unlocking different sections on the forum and kind of chatting to specific guys. So yeah, the forums has always been such a. I still go on forums to be honest. But I agree with you on that lack on YouTube, and that's also kind of the reason why we're having this conversation today. Now, with extracting, it's quite technical though, and there's a lot of sort of mistakes that one can make. Some of them quite dangerous as well. Can you tell me, just out of interest, have there been any major setbacks that you faced during your extraction career that you'd like to share with us?
I think, luckily with what you said with being dangerous, I took heed to that note, to that very, 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 very strongly when I started, because we were working with something that obviously is very flammable and explosive. Essentially, I'm not going to risk my life to make something that's just to enjoy a little bit of something. It's just a hobby of mine. It's just something that I like to do. So unfortunately, or fortunately, yes, there was no setbacks in terms of explosions or anything, because that's the reality of what we're doing. When you're dealing with butane, you cannot do it inside. You cannot do it in there's certain places you just cannot work in. So I took note of that, and I made sure that it was always done safely and correctly, so that it was never a problem. My only lack or thing is the equipment. Availability of equipment when I started was non-existent. Absolutely non-existent. There was nothing that was involved or is at least orientated towards what we do. Now, you can get it. It is available. And there's good equipment and there's bad equipment, but you need to just do your research before you jump deep into this, because it is potentially a very dangerous thing you're doing if you don't do it right.
Yeah, and I mean the equipment's not cheap in this game either, so don't make those expensive mistakes. So you did mention sort of your favorite extract that you currently sort of consuming. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of the process around that being made, or just a little bit about your favorite extract that you're currently making?
So it would be wet batter is one that I enjoy. At the end of the day, I'm all about terps and flavors and appearance. At the end of the day, I don't want to be smoking something that's dark, horrible, and is going to taste like shit, frankly. So at the moment, I'm making like a wet batter. That's basically just a lot of terps, and it's more of like a crumble, like crumble.
Yes,
It's not dry. It's more of a wet consistency. So it's like cake batter. I just find that a lot better. It's got a lot more terpenes to it. It's more manageable. It doesn't stick to everything so much. And you can play in different, you can use in different ways.
Amazing.
Yeah, that sticky aspect is definitely one of the things that I'm personally overcoming. I'm getting quite I'm sometimes getting differentiating results, and then when I'm trying to deal with it, it's literally sticking to everywhere. Like the other day, my girlfriend's like, "What's that all in your hand?" I just had it on my hands and subconsciously touched my hand. It was an absolute disaster. So I'm also tending more towards the things that are a little bit easier to handle with the gloves.
Yes.
So a little bit on our, thanks for all these kind of tidbits of information so far. Tell me a little bit about, obviously we came from the Amber Cup where we got to all sample some beautiful kinds of dabs and see kind of a little bit of what the market is making in South Africa. What do you personally currently think of the sort of quality of extract within South Africa? Have you seen it is the quality increasing, or are we kind of sitting in a specific sort of stagnation currently?
No, we're definitely progressing. There was the start of it in the beginning, and I was doing it was, dark. It was horrible. It was full of waxes. It wasn't properly taken care of. It was sort of just a make it and we've made it. There was no in-depth knowledge about it. People are learning a lot more about the craft. I'm really surprised and really glad to see that the rosin game in this country is really stepping up. I personally don't do rosin. I don't know that I don't smoke it. It's just not here. From what it was to with the hair press, with the hair straighteners that Oaks were using, now the proper tech. There's some guys in South Africa that I really, really think are doing the right thing. They're doing the whole bubble wash and then from the bubble wash into a freeze dryer, from a freeze dryer, putting that into the presses, and it's giving them some really quality product. And that's international level. So we must just remember that we are at an international level immediately with this. It's not like weed where we were sort of held back because we didn't have genetics. now the genetics are here. It's just a matter of how dedicated you are to doing the extraction. And people are dedicated. These oaks that are, the oaks that are they're there. It's great.
It's good because hopefully we'll be able to catch up to the American market, who's unfortunately with everything they do is they've always got a head start on us in terms of like the learning curve. But I do think we'll get there. For those guys that are watching at home, Dan, do you have any tips for a young and up and coming extractor? Some tips for them to get started? Besides, obviously, be safe about it and careful.
Yeah, that's the most important thing is be safe, be careful. Also, I think figure out what you want to do in the end. Don't just go and buy a piece of equipment and then realize, oh shit, this is not what I actually want to do, or this doesn't make the end product that I'm looking to make. You really need to do research about this. It's not about, you know what you want to make. If you want to make distillate, if you want to make oil, or if you want to make, dabs, it depends on what that'll determine what kind of equipment you're going to need to go and buy. So, you can't go and buy a rosin machine and then make distillate carts out like as many as you want. You'd have to buy different equipment for that. So that's the one thing. Know what you want and what you want to do in the end. And sure, man, quality in is quality out. Don't think about sticking in some shitty ass weed into a piece of extraction equipment that is going to all of a sudden be amazing. Yes, it will come out.
Something will come out.
Something will come out. Yes, exactly. But the higher the quality that you can put into your extraction, the higher the quality that you're going to get out. It's just how it works,
And I think that's like a especially difficult one because you're looking at the quality going in and you're like, oh, this is like, are you sure you're going to get the results from this? Especially if you're learning, you maybe don't want to put your quality through a learning curve and then the learning curve turns out badly.
You're true, unless it depends on how badly you actually want it.
Yeah.
If you want to learn this craft really, 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 really well, you're gonna have to make those sacrifices and do it.
Well, guys, you heard it from Dan. It's about sacrifice, and good in is good out. And yeah, Dan, thanks so much for coming on and sharing some info. Congrats as well to winning the Amber Cup. It's quite an honor to have the winner on the show, and yeah, we look forward to having you again in the future.
For sure, same to you. Thanks a lot, guys.
I always like that quality in, quality out kind of debate because you've got like 100 grams of indoor nugs and you're like, oh my word, I'm going to grind it up fine, or I'm going to cut it up fine. I'm going to shove it into some sort of piece of some sort of machine, and then I'm going to blast it. Is it going to come out? It's an expensive place to make mistakes. And like, I mean, I've had experience pressing and blasting, and like when you pressing, I've made some expensive mistakes. Blasting, I've made some expensive mistakes as well, but you got to just keep at it until you kind of getting the results you want. Like that's, I think that's the biggest factor, the cost of the equipment.
It's difficult, because now you're like I suppose it's like growing indoors as well. It's like that initial outlay of capital is so intense. And then you can still mess it up royally, so it's I think it's one of those things, but like Dan said, if you really dedicate to it and you put in the time and effort, and like it's not like magic, it's not like something's just gonna like turn up overnight and you're just gonna start making amazing stuff. It takes, Dan said he's been doing it for 10 years already, and that's still, I think that's just in the extraction, obviously growing for longer. So yeah, it's a learning curve, uphill battle, and I'm glad you guys are here and you found us. You can always reach out to us on the WhatsApp line for questions, and we look forward to seeing you guys in another episode. Peace, guys.
Peace, guys.